I like sports. I could do something in sports. Maybe I could be like an announcer, like a color man.
Well, they tend to give those jobs to ex-ball players and people that are, in broadcasting.
Well, that's really not fair.
The official scores halftime stats up. The Raptors shot 34.9% from the field in the first half, and they finished the game at 41.9%.
That's pretty cool.
They took him down. They took him out.
No, this was a good game. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Box and One. The Toronto Raptors were back in action today, and boy, did they pick up from where they left off, dispatching the Lakers 107-92 with Lowry dropping 33 points. Pretty cool first game back, Pramit.
Yes, and allow me.
Sure, that's why we have you.
If I may, because I am calling out the U.S. sports media, except for one man, our boy Kendrick Perkins, who shows the Raptors respect. Meanwhile, we have the Stephen A. Smiths, Max Kellermans, Shannon Sharp, Skip Baylesses, the Chris Carters, the list goes on and on and on, and they never talk about the Raptors. It's always the two LA teams and Milwaukee. Oh, who's going to come out of the East? Milwaukee. Oh, Philly. Really? Philadelphia. Their top two guys, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, cannot hit a three-point shot to save their life. Joel Embiid, by the way, who everybody thinks is the greatest big man in the league today, was held to 0 points by the Raptors back in November, as you both recall. A big 0. That's what the Raptors defense does. Oh, let's see what they did to another big man, Anthony Davis, today. 35 minutes played, 2 for 7 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, 9 for 9 free throw shooting, and only 6 rebounds. A minus 17 for the night, 14 points total. LeBron James and Anthony Davis combined average over 50 points a game combined. Today, they were held combined to 34 points. Yes, I am not going to make a big deal over one quote-unquote regular season game. However, allow me to point out that this team did beat the Clippers, now shorthanded Clippers, but they still beat a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George team 2 nights ago and are considered by many to be the favorite to win the NBA title this year. And Nick Nurse just schemed these guys to death tonight. Nothing. The only reason they had a lead at halftime is because the Raptors were shooting poorly the first half. Raptors shot 34.9% from the field in the first half, and they finished with 41.7% shooting. Once they got their shot going, Lakers were just completely outclassed. And think about it. Arguably, they have the two best players in the game outclassing. The two best players in this game, LeBron and Anthony Davis, and the Raptors just took them down. It was ridiculous. They just got schemed, and even Davis, a guy who's supposed to be an elite rebounder, was held to 6 rebounds. They boxed him, they double teamed him, they swarmed him. They were physical. He only got 9 of his 14 points from free throws, which was bound to happen because they were going to get physical.
But even as a team, they rebounded them 51-40, I think, right?
Yes, let's take a look at the final stat. Yeah, 51-40. LeBron
but then
James
Lowry got
14.
10, it's like, they out-rebounded them big time.
Lowry, funny thing is, I thought Lowry was at some points in the game, I was telling myself, Lowry got to tone it down a little bit. Game 1, too much of that. I don't want him to like just wear himself out or just be hitting the floor all the time. So
Yeah, and there were a couple of times there where I got a little bit nervous because you see him going into the stanchion of the basket, and Kyle was in mid-season form, throwing himself around, and he had like I was a little bit worried in the beginning of the game. He didn't have the shot going, but to his credit, he kept himself in there, got himself to the line, and he was obviously a big reason for the final result. But he's one of those guys we talked about in the last podcast where the Raptors we weren't sure if they have that guy who can just pull the team out of the mud, and Kyle did it, and it was great to see him going one-on-one with Kyle Kuzma. And I wasn't sure did Kuzma end up on Lowry on a switch on three possessions, or were they actually trying to guard Lowry with Kuzma? Was that
I think
was that the intention?
I don't think that was a switch because they'd gone up against each other a few times during this game, and I think they wanted the size. I think they felt confident that Kuzma could guard him out there, and they wanted that length on Lowry.
Yeah, and it didn't work. It really didn't work. And the thing that I loved was how the Raptors were guarding AD in the first quarter, first half, like most of the game. They were throwing the double teams at him, getting the ball out of his hands, and it worked. It worked.
And LeBron James finished
10 and 5,
with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5, which is a good stat line. I mean, it's not a LeBron James stat line. 5 assists for the league's leading assist guy was pretty good. And even just taking a look through here, I think part of the reason, Ron, to add to your point about Kuzma, was they had Danny Green on Lowry early, but Danny Green 0 points. Now, he missed a lot of open shots. Like he looked like
he was 0 for 7 too.
Yeah, he looked like the Danny Green we saw at times in the playoff run last year when he'd go cold. So not sure what was going on there, but the Raptors did opt to leave him open. Like I think they really were zeroed in on Davis and LeBron because you saw early in the game a lot of guys. Like Kuzma was scoring got 16 points. He scored a lot for them. Dion Waiters ended up with 12. I think Caruso had 11. I think the Raptors were just really just willing to let everybody else but Davis and LeBron take shots. I think that was their game plan. And as Nick Nurse has become sort of the godfather coach of minimizing the impact of stars on the other team, he did it again. What can I say?
Yeah, and you could really see the issues that Kuzma has fitting into this team. Like, yeah, he had 16 points, but he shot 38%, and there was some really poor shot selection in there. He just chucks them up. It looked like he got the ball, and the only thing he wanted to do was get his shots up.
Mm-hmm. So the other player who probably made an impact, and we talked about it on our chat group, was OG early on, right? We talked about him. What did you guys see different from him this time round versus, let's say earlier on in the season?
He has handles. He can dribble. He was getting to the bucket. He was really a 3-and-D guy and a very good 3-and-D guy prior, but at times his offense would go stagnant because if he wasn't hitting his 3-point shot, there really wasn't more he could provide on offense. So you'd really have to hope that he was bringing that elite level defense in order to keep him on the floor. But I mean, today, for example, he went 8 for 9 from the field, and went 3 for 3 from 3, meaning that 6 of his shots were non-threes. And of those 6, he went 5 for 6. And he got to the free throw line. He took 4 free throws today. And I'm looking up his stats for the season. He doesn't get a lot of his free throw attempts for the year. He averages 1.4 free throws a game. 1.4 free throws a game this season, and he got to the line 4 times today because now he's able to put the ball on the floor, get to the basket. Teams just can't sell out and hope that he scores threes, shoots threes and settles for threes. So it's just opening up his game. We're seeing him get to another level.
Yeah, and I think in addition to the handles, which there's been a lot of talk about the work that he's put in on his handles, but also off the ball, the movement has been great. Cuts, he got a couple of open baskets, and you've seen it through the three scrimmages as well. Just his ability to just find some space and get to the basket off the ball and open himself up for an easy bucket. That's really changed what he's doing, because before, where, and you saw it a couple of times here, where he's standing in the corner for the easy corner three, but he's become more than that. And I'm looking forward to how they're going to use him. Obviously, we don't need him to be the guy. I don't know if he's going to be the guy in the next year or so, but the fact that he can step in when we need somebody to step in. He's shown a lot of improvement in a short period of time in the bubble.
Very impressive win tonight.
So, what is it? Something that you learned about the Raptors today, or what did you guys learn about the Lakers today? I know it's just one game, so you really can't put too much into it. First game back, just for the sake of argument, what do you guys think?
I think the Lakers are a very, very good team, but I do think that if you can just. And the Clippers is sort of the arguably the better team, I would say. I mean, record notwithstanding, I think the Clippers are better, and the Clippers are really, really deep defensively. They have so many guys that can defend multiple positions that if you can just find a way to neutralize one of the two stars, like Davis or LeBron, just a little bit, I'm very comfortable letting guys like Contavious Caldwell-Pope or Marcus Morris or Kyle Kuzma just take shots. Dion Wade, I'm very comfortable leaving those guys open and forcing them to beat you. LeBron obviously he doesn't have to score to be effective. He's back to being an elite defender. He'll get his rebounds. He'll get his assists. He's just incredible. But if you can find a way to slow down Anthony Davis by swarming him, double teaming him, taking his space away, they're beatable. They're very beatable. And I still think that the Clippers of the two LA teams are the better team. I think that it's they got so much more depth on that team, on more guys that can beat you, that you can't really take that strategy of trying to neutralize either Paul George or Kawhi, because they have enough around them to beat you. But I don't think the Lakers have that.
And I don't know that we learned too much about the Lakers this game. I mean, like you said, we don't want to get too excited over one win for the Raptors, and also you're not going to get too down on the Lakers after this game. I think we learned more about the Lakers in their last game against the Clippers, even though the Clippers were without Lou. But I think the fact that the Clippers really have nobody to guard AD. And I know, Prime, you say that the Clippers are the better of the two teams. I still think AD is the differentiating factor between those two teams. And the Clippers really have nobody that can handle AD. But in terms of the Raptors, what I found really interesting in this game is that the chemistry is still there in a short period of time. 3 games under your belt, 3 meaningless games. If you just watch the rotations on defense, it's such a pleasure to watch. You throw that double team at AD and you think like there should be a man open and it's going to be easy to get to him and it should be an easy 3 in the corner. It's not. Like, you can see guys just running around the court and they're where they're supposed to be, and they make it really difficult on the other team to find easy baskets. And it's just amazing that with such a long layoff that the Raptors are still able to have that chemistry and still have that great movement on defense. And offense, it struggled a little bit in the first half, and even overall in the game. I think it came like later on in the game a little bit, but they didn't have a great shooting game. They got their open shots. But I think, just overall, the chemistry that I'm seeing But the Lakers still have a big cushion over the Clippers in the West. So I don't know. Are they going to be taking it easy for the next little while? Maybe. But I think the Lakers are still the Lakers. Are still a great team. The playoffs are going to be a little bit more interesting than anything that we're seeing right now from them.
Yep.
So let's say, for argument's sake, Raptors and Lakers do face off, and obviously that's going to be in the finals if that happens. What are some of the adjustments Lakers do you think is going to make with this Raptors defense, or what they need to make?
They need to create space for Anthony Davis. They need to find a way to not let the Raptors double team him. Try to find a way to, I don't know, screen Gasol or Serge, or just get bodies off of him. And create that space so he can go to work down low.
Yeah, I think maybe space is going to be big, and having maybe J.R. Smith step in and hit some shots, like Waiters, he might be important too if he can come in and start hitting some shots too. I think the more you get going around AD will open more stuff up for AD, and I think sometimes they were very, very quick I think it was in the second quarter. Like they weren't even really forcing it to AD. Actually, it might have been the first when LeBron was out. Like they weren't really going into AD at all. They weren't giving him the ball on too many possessions. And when Kuzma was in there, it was just, I think Kuzma after the first quarter had more points than AD had, and that's just because Kuzma was taking the ball and he was taking the shot. I think there's got to be a little bit more. You got to be a little bit more forceful to get those shots up for AD rather than just being so quick to give them to Kuzma or Caruso or anybody else.
Yep, they couldn't find a way to get him those open looks. That was quite telling. I mean, his most open looks were when he was shooting from three, and he went 1 for 3 from. He's a good 3-point shooter for such a big guy, but that's not his game. That's not his wheelhouse. He needs to be down low and pounding guys, and if you can just keep him from getting the ball, maybe that is the way to neutralize this Laker offense. Frank Vogel will have to find that space, find a way to get that space for him, and get him the ball maybe faster as they run up the floor, or in some manner.
Yeah, and even there were a few possessions where both LeBron and AD were on the court where I think it was 2 straight possessions, or maybe 2 out of 3 possessions, where JaVale McGee ended up with the ball on one possession. He took a running floater, missed it, and on the next possession he got the ball with 3 or 4 seconds left on the shot clock. And that's definitely not how you're going to want to run your offense, and that's not the guy that you want getting the ball at the end of the possession. I think LeBron's going to have to do a better job, and I'm sure he will, of just keeping the ball and just taking it himself.
And before we get too down or too high on the Raptors or too down on the Lakers, I think we all know that LeBron always just goes to a different level once the playoffs start. I think he's year 17, logged a lot of miles. You're not going to see pristine, 100% balls to the wall LeBron yet. These are still important games because they want to clinch that 1 seed. I think.
Yeah, and he knows when to turn it on, right? I mean, he's been there for so long. He knows when he needs to get into that extra gear.
He's a savant. He'll break down the video here, and they'll see AD. They know AD averages 18 shots a game, field goals a game, and today, field goal attempts a game, and today he got 7. So they know it's find a way to get the ball to AD.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to mention then is just the work that they did with Pascal taking the ball up the court. I wasn't sure how it would work out. I think the first time that it happened this game, the possession looked a little bit sloppy. That may have been a product of just early in the game. The play just in general was sloppy throughout. But he ended up making some great plays. He brought it down once. Dribbled into the lane, dished it out for a corner 3, and another possession he just left AD on I think it was a high screen, and just his speed was too much for AD to handle, and just took it to the hole, took it strong, and had a nice finish. So I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I also like that they didn't force it. They only worked it in when they felt it was necessary, and it was more for a change of pace.
There's going to be times where he needs to do that. They early in the year when they had all those injuries and they had they'll have games where when Kyle was hurt or when Fred was hurt, they were using him as a point forward, so to speak, and where he was dribbling it up the floor and being more of a distributor, having the ball in his hands more often. I think that especially at a time where they start both point guards together, there could be times where one of the two, Lowry or Van Vliet, may not be able to do it. So, if you want to sort of give them a pseudo rest while they're playing, so having Siakam in the point forward role gives them a third option to bring that ball up the floor for sure. Gives the opponent a different look to adjust to. A lot of I see what Nurse tends to do both offensively and defensively is just constantly changing things up, just making that defense or the offense have to just take that of the opposing team, take that moment to recalibrate themselves. Okay, what are the Raptors doing? What adjustments do we need to make? Those just few seconds sometimes are all you need to either create an open shot on offense or result in a turnover or shot clock violation when they're playing defense.
Let's switch tack and talk about another game, the Miami Heat and Denver Nuggets. Now, Jimmy Butler scored 22 points. Kerry Olynyk, he dropped, I think, 20 and a quarter. I didn't get to watch the game. But Heat's always an interesting team, right? I mean, I think they beat Raptors on both occasions this season. Once, I think, was in overtime, and the other one was a bit of a low-scoring affair. Did you guys watch the game? What do you make out of it? What do you guys think for Raptors' next game on Monday?
I didn't watch. I'm disappointed considering that I had declared Denver as my dark horse pick 2 days ago. But the Heat are good.
I mean, you can change it to Clippers or Lakers if you want as your dark horse, right?
Alex Rodriguez style. That's the way to do it. I mean, the Heat are good. I mean, I'm just looking at the box score right now. I mean, Jimmy Butler got 11 free throw attempts today. He went 10 for 11 from the free throw line. Bam Adebayo had 10 free throw attempts. Goran Dragic had 10. I think that Miami had 37 free throw attempts and Denver had 24. So clearly Miami was drawing a lot of fouls out on Denver's defense, just did not, for whatever reason, weren't ready to go, couldn't adjust to what Miami was throwing at them. Hard to really break down further considering that I didn't see the game, but Skinny Jokic got only 7 rebounds, so I was hoping to, and 19, 7, and 6, I was hoping to maybe see a little bit more dominance on his part. Ron?
Yeah, I touched on this last time. It's just going to be interesting to see how Miami schemes against the Raptors. We struggle a little bit against them. Hopefully we can figure something out and we can hit some open shots. I think we might need somebody like Norm to step up a little bit and start hitting those shots. But yeah, I mean they have shooters, and it's going to be an interesting matchup. But I think like most of these games, like it's I guess take it with a grain of salt because people they're still getting in shape, still trying to keep healthy. Kind of like today's game against the Lakers. Like we don't want to get obviously we're excited about it, but we don't want to get too high on the results. But it'll be important to see how the Raptors handle the defensive schemes of the Heat.
Yep, as you discussed last time, when they really zoned up against the Raptors a few times. A few times, those 2 games, quite a bit, and that definitely disrupted the Raptors' offense. I think that first Heat win, they went into overtime that night. It was the night where I think Lowry went like over 12 from 3 or something. It was his first game back from injury. So
Yeah.
that one again, take with a grain of salt, because for such an extreme bad game, and they still got into OT. They still managed to make it a competitive game. But yeah, I think just the Heat, they're big, they're very athletic, they're fat, they can do a lot of things, and
They can shoot.
They are very well coached, so they'll be a problem for the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the box scores from the last 2 games, and the one they lost in overtime, I think Heat held them to like 385, and the one where they beat them 84-76, they held them to 315.
Yeah, and those are ugly numbers. And add to the fact that you don't have a lot of games under your belt in the last like 4 months. It could be like, I don't know if you guys agree, but the first half of this game was particularly frustrating. It was ugly. There were a lot of guys on the floor for some reason. Like everybody was hitting the floor. There were like bodies in the lane. So I think this one has the potential to be a pretty frustrating game, maybe for both teams, considering that they're both very well coached and very good defensive teams.
Awesome. So it should be an interesting game. It's a day game. I don't think if I'll be able to watch it if I still want to keep my job, but
Yeah, yeah. Same with me. So I might have to record it and watch it a little bit later. But yeah, I don't want to take the chance of losing my job either.
so anything else that we want to cover before we finish this off?
Yeah. So one last thing that I just wanted to ask you your opinions on is what did you guys think about the overall presentation? What you saw, camera angles, the crowd. I mean, quote unquote crowd. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, for me, like I don't know about everyone, but I'm a creature of habit, right? Like even in soccer games, if I see one stadium, you have slightly different camera angle, it just drives me insane. It's really hard for me to, and I felt the same way because the angle was very different, right? And for me, I'd rather see those empty stands and like normal camera angles rather than all the stuff that, they had around and like those fans and stuff like that. I mean, I don't enjoy that.
I liked it. The other, like the games I'd watched, or highlights or games I'd watched the past week of the scrimmages, or the past couple nights I'd tuned into a quarter here, a quarter there. It was very hard getting into it, but I think that when I was watching a Raptor game, the team that I'm a fan of, that higher level of focus came, and then I watched the ESPN feed, which actually was kind of funny. I felt the fake crowd noise drowned out the commentary at times. But overall, I think watching your own team created that extra level of focus, and it felt normal to me. I notice it more when I'm watching games where I don't have a vested interest, and that higher level of like anxiety or stress isn't there when watching it, but I was okay with it.
I had mixed feelings on it. The crowd was a little bit weird to me, especially considering that we had some empty seats. I don't think that was part of the plan, but looking at the faces, and I've watched a few other games and I didn't see as many empty seats as I did for the Raptors fans. But the first half for me was really weird. I found that I wasn't really getting into it. I tried to get up for the game. I tried to get excited, and I found that it wasn't happening. And maybe that was it just had to do with the fact that the play was a little bit sloppy and a little bit ugly. Second half, I found myself getting a lot more into it, and I was enjoying actually some of the camera angles. There was the one that was like very NBA 2K-ish, where it was like panning along the sideline. it just gives you a different perspective. And somebody threw an inbound pass out to the wing, and you can see like the way some of these guys move and the small windows that you have to get the ball into. It's just impressive, and it gives you a completely different line of sight than you would normally get on a regular TV broadcast. And I really like the space on the baseline and the sidelines. Sometimes I just find that the cameras and the fans they're a little bit too close, and it just makes me uncomfortable because I feel like somebody's going to get hurt, and it's happened before. It's happened to the Raptors. So I kind of like the setup, but the no crowd noise kind of makes it weird for me.
I mean, on one end, the production quality is pretty good, right? But my point is, if it's something different, then I wouldn't mind. Like, I enjoy the crowd noise, but sometimes I wouldn't mind just watching the raw game as is, and it kind of get to appreciate a little bit differently, I guess. I mean, there's some other sports that we've seen, like, for example, for soccer, DAZN was showing two different feeds, right? One with the crowd noise, and then there was another with stadium sound. And I thought it was pretty cool because you actually see all those big players and how the communication goes and everything. I thought that it's a neat different angle, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the soccer games, like, that was it was a little bit weird for me to actually like accept the piped in crowd noise. So I probably would have opted for just the feed without anything, where you can just hear the players talking and the whistle and everything. And that's kind of what I was going into the whole bubble experience. Like, I was thinking that's probably what I would like for the NBA. Just hearing the ball bounce, the squeaking of the sneakers, the player chatter. But I've bought into the extra glitz and glamour that they've added.
All right, I think this is probably a good time to end our episode. Thank you very much for listening. And if you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe, share, write a review. We'd always appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Have yourself a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.